Welcome to There Must Be More, a Bethel, Ottawa podcast. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube at Bethel, Ottawa, and follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts.
Welcome back to There Must Be More. So great to have you. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 2, season
2, baby.
2.
We back.
We are back. How do you feel?
Back.
Have you noticed anything different about today?
Yeah, if you're on the video watching. Can you tell
I'm
us?
asking you.
Oh, yes. We have 2 tables instead of 1. So we got more room for activities. Do you know that movie?
You know that movie? For the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And we have more room for, our notes and such.
We have iPads.
We do.
Aren't
do you
we
know,
technologically
do
advanced?
Do you know what we said, all you listeners? We said, we're going to look so fancy like the diary of a CEO
That's
podcast
what we
host.
do. That
because
guy's awesome.
He's so cool, Steven.
Cool.
He's so cool with his iPad. So we were like, we need our iPads. Anyways.
Yeah.
Is this part of what we're actually talking about today?
This has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today. You know what else we should get, though, for this studio?
What?
Air conditioning.
I
feel like I'm glistening. Am I glistening?
You know what they call that?
Glistening.
No, a glazed donut.
Why,
they say
bald?
like your skin. No, actually, no.
Right.
So Hailey Bieber went viral for her glazed donut skin because her skin was so dewy and clear and fresh. Like it looks like she was sweating a little bit, but it just means you're hydrated.
How's that fresh?
Like, because you're hydrated.
I said that really weird.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Because you're hydrated and clean and clear. So it's like,
or
she's
other
like
people
a
call it
glazed donut.
Sweaty.
Or you could call it sweaty.
Right.
I would say a glazed donut.
I'm not a glazed donut, but I am feeling dewy in here. Anyways, I just want some AC.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to talk about, not Hailey Bieber.
If anybody wants to come and install like an AC unit in this window or something, hit us up.
Yeah.
And we will gladly accept
that.
and give free hugs to you. So
Free hugs. She will.
hugs.
I don't give out free hugs.
You don't give out free hugs?
Yeah, actually, I do a lot.
I was going to say you hug. Your men's t-shirts literally say hug a bro.
I know.
So like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think I do give out hugs.
You do. It's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're not here for this nonsense. Or maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe they need more nonsense.
Maybe.
We actually have a topic today.
We do.
And we're within a series.
Yep.
Which I'm actually pretty excited about this series.
Yeah, you are.
Because so are you.
I am too, but you're really excited about this.
Well,
series.
I think it's an important thing that we all should be living in.
Okay.
And that is victory.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's a 4-part series.
Yep.
And we're in part 2 today.
Yeah. So if you missed our first part, make sure you go back and you listen to that one.
Yes.
But today, Rob, what are we talking all about?
We are talking about, so the first one we talked about like what is victory, right? Like we have these ideas of victory.
Yep.
And then sort of how do we maintain
victory in our lives in different circumstances.
Right.
Yep.
And now we're moving into a bit of discussing some of the things that like get in the way of us finding that victory.
Yeah.
And today we are talking about, and I think many of us, and I think almost all of
I
us
do for sure.
deal with this on some level or another, and that is imposter syndrome.
Yes. Okay. And so for those of you who don't know, imposter syndrome, this idea has been around for a long time. Right? And we did a little bit of research, Rob, and we found out that this idea was originally called like imposter phenomenon.
Yes.
And from 1978.
Oh, man. A year after I was born.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I just blew her mind.
Whoa.
Yeah. I just look so young.
That's right. It's because you're glistening like a glazed donut.
I'm a glazed donut.
So this was from 1978, 2 psychologists who are women, which I would just like to say made me very excited.
This is really cool. Yeah.
Their names are Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes. They developed this concept, basically. And so when we're talking about imposter syndrome, it really means that it's something that we feel because we don't deserve or we're not qualified for.
Yeah, so it's like a status or position we might want to achieve or be in
that we feel like, I don't deserve this. Like I feel like an imposter, like I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough. Like I'm a fraud.
So like, let's think of some areas maybe that could exist. Like one of them I think that would be significant for a believer is just your faith and church.
Ooh.
Right?
Like they don't belong in church.
Yeah.
Right?
And what would you think would be a common reason for feeling like an imposter in church?
Oh, yeah. Like I'm not good enough. I'm not.
Sin.
Like I'm not holy enough. I messed up. So I don't deserve to be.
Totally.
Here in the church and in the pew and worshiping and raising my hands when What if they knew what I did yesterday? What if
Absolutely.
They knew, right? Oh, that's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Very, very difficult because like we have a holiness that we hope for in our lives. Thing is that Jesus makes us holy.
Yep.
Right. And so I think there's just been a lot of dangerous discussion around people that like, get yourself cleaned up and then come to church. That notion, that idea,
So
which just really makes a whole bunch of fakers.
It does. And it really is like, it's so discouraging to me when I hear people say that. Like, I feel so bad because I'm like, who taught you that? Like, who taught you that? Because if you go and you read your Bible and you read the Gospels, Jesus didn't wait for anybody to clean themselves up to use them or to say, like, come to me, come follow me, right?
Exactly.
Like, he never did that anyways. That's a little sidebar for that. But.
I mean, so I guess, Ed, when it's like church, I mean, I started this whole sidebar
it's fine.
with talking
you
about
go
church.
On your sidebar.
Right? Thank you.
You're welcome.
But like, I mean, I guess if the whole goal of Christianity is to be perfect, then we're all imposters. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus was the only one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So our next question was like, is this good? Is imposter syndrome any kind of good thing? Right. Like, should we be feeling this way ever?
I think it's normal to feel this way.
It is normal.
But we shouldn't feel this way. Right.
Yeah.
So there's a difference, and you brought this up. There's a difference between being delusional and if you're on TikTok.
How old are you? You were born in 1977, weren't you?
1993. TikTok. If you're on TikTok, not TikTok.
On the
there's
TikTok.
this like they call delusional. They call delulu.
Oh,
so like,
delulu.
I'm being a delulu baby today, like because you're being delusional. So there's a difference between being like absolutely delusional.
Star Wars would call it delusions of grandeur.
Really?
Yes.
That's what they call it?
They use that phrase on there.
Oh, that sounds
delusions
so
of grandeur.
Sophisticated.
It sounds a little bit better
Delusions
than
of
delulu.
grandeur. What? Delulu? Yeah,
It
I'm like
sounds a little
I'm
cooler
feeling
than
a little
delulu.
delulu today. That's what they say on TikTok.
They sure have a way of dumbing things down, don't they?
Listen, don't get me started.
Hopefully we're not on TikTok. I'm just offending all of TikTok.
We love TikTok.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between feeling like an imposter and then being delusional. And so like, for example, what you said is like, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and be a rock star or a pop star because like I can't sing.
I've heard it. Like it's okay. You're not that bad.
No, it's not good.
It's not, Taylor Swift level.
Listen,
for all of us, maybe in the shower, it's that level. Cause like in the shower, amazing.
I sound so good. Then the water shuts off. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
I sound like that the whole entire time. No. But anyway, so there's a difference between feeling like an imposter and like being absolutely delusional. Like we're not saying, you're going to wake up tomorrow and decide that you're just going to be so amazing at drums and like.
Yeah. And there are things that we believe about ourselves that are incorrect sometimes. Like sometimes our idea of our capacity or our abilities is just not quite correct.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have to like understand that. I do like to sing as well, but like I'm not
you
good.
You actually are. You're pretty good.
No, I'm not.
I think you are.
Like my wife can sing.
Yeah,
so like
Shannon can.
My wife can sing. I'm like a maybe if I had to stand up as a pastor in front of a congregation of 40 people and lead a hymn, I could probably get away with that and not be booed off the stage.
You play piano really well. You're classically trained.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about that.
I have a point. So like I can't all of a sudden go up to Rob and be like, let's have a classical piano off and start like doing of course I would feel like an imposter because I'm being delusional. Like there's no way I could just step up to the piano and right? So there's a difference between like being delusional and like imposter syndrome.
Yes.
That's what we're saying.
Absolutely. So it's really important for us to recognize that, right? Like let's just get down to the nitty gritty and say.
So it's normal.
Yeah. Like what we're good at and what we're not good at. And even like you can be really good at something, but not the best at it.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Right?
I'm not the best at a lot of things.
That's right. You are
just
not
like
the best at a lot.
I'm like just like okay at a lot of things, and that's okay.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Says the classically trained.
Yeah, but I would be pianist. A joke. I would be a joke with an orchestra.
A joke.
Like but seriously. It's like we have to recognize that there is like there's a level of professionalism that is exceedingly high.
Yeah.
Like if I look at me singing versus Shannon singing, she is far beyond me in singing, and she's still not a professional.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
there's a difference between those. But yes, I think it is normal that we're feeling this way and that other people are feeling this way of this imposter syndrome. Is it good?
No.
No.
And especially when we're talking about our hopes and dreams and places where we do, where God's called us to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference. Like, he will equip us with a lot of things. Yeah. And there are things that we have to recognize that we are good at, and we do belong in this place.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, you're not here by accident.
Well, and a big thing about this is this study and the term around imposter syndrome was because they were studying high functioning, highly successful women and their position, right? And so if you look at what happens to a woman especially in the 70s, 80s, and even now, they get into those higher positions, they can often be made to feel like they don't belong there, right? And so what does that do? That goes to the psyche. People will gaslight you. People will speak negatively about your abilities, and they attack those things.
Gaslight yourself.
You will, but also because it comes from the outside as well.
Yeah.
Right? That message, if it just sort of comes in all the time, it is a very real thing that we can be put in positions where we will feel inadequate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
By others and by ourselves.
Yep.
So I think it's a very real thing that we have to battle. And I really like where we're going to go with this, because we look at some of I think there's 5.
Yeah, there's
types.
5 different types.
Yeah, because we're looking at where does this come from? Where does this stem from?
Yeah, why are we feeling this way? Where does it come from? Where does it stem from?
Yeah.
Okay, so we found out that there's actually 5 different types of imposter syndrome. Yeah. And once we read these, I immediately knew which one I was.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy.
We might ask Shannon here while we're doing this if this is mine too, but I think mine's the same as yours.
Okay, so let's, we want to read some of them out.
So first of all, this comes from Dr.
Valerie Young.
Yes, thank you. And her discussions, her studies, her research on imposter syndrome.
Thanks, Dr. Val.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Val. And thank you all the ladies who put the work into this.
Ladies, we love you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the first one is the perfectionist.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And this is when we set unrealistically high standards that honestly almost nobody could meet.
Right.
And then when we don't reach them, we feel like failures.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, but this is kind of where I feel like...
This is where I am.
But I actually see myself from a more of a negative side of it. So I know that most perfectionists would be like, I'm going to do this perfectly. I'm going to set these really wonderful goals.
Right.
I almost feel like I just fall off the perfection as soon as something
goes wrong.
As soon.
You throw it all away?
Yes.
Ah.
Right? So it's almost like I don't even...
That's perfectionism.
It's about but I don't have that let's wait till the end and see how this goes. There's times when I'm just oh, that's it. No, that we already blew it.
Right.
Right.
Even if it's really early on.
Totally.
Dang. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
But this one's yours too, right?
This one is mine as well, for sure.
But from a different point of view.
But from a different point of view. So I would say mine is, say I did almost everything perfectly, but one thing was off. I'm like, I failed.
Really?
Even though 98% of it was amazing or good or whatever. Yeah. I also have a fear of failure, but we're going to get into that later on in our series.
So where do you think yours would come from?
My perfectionist imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
I know it's putting you on the spot.
No, I know where it stems from because I go to therapy. Thank you, Dr. Joyce.
Is that your doctor, Dr. Joyce?
Yeah, Dr. Joyce, we love you.
I like that. She sounds like she could have a TV show or a podcast.
Ooh, so my imposter syndrome, the perfectionist, definitely comes from I'm in my family. I'm the middle child, and so I'm the peacekeeper. In my family. And I'm the fixer because it's just how I'm made up. And that's how I just have always been that way. And so I feel like I always have to have it together and be perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's just who I am. Like Sarah, she's steady all the time. She's the peacekeeper. She makes sure everything's good. She checks in this family. She reminds me of that. I'm not the oldest sibling, but I feel like the oldest sibling.
Yeah, okay,
no offense to my brother.
Wow.
But yeah. I think that's definitely part of where it stems from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But you're working on that.
But I'm working on it.
I know
I'm
you are. I know you are.
People pleaser.
Right? People pleasing. Oh,
That's
it's a losing game.
It's a losing game. Okay, so that's one of them.
Yeah.
The next one, I want to read it off just because I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
It says the expert. And so this says it feels the need to know everything and fears being exposed as a fraud for lacking knowledge. Ooh.
Did you read yours because I didn't read the first one perfectly?
No. Nope.
Yeah. Okay. So actually,
second.
That one, I actually feel like I could have
I
some of
feel
that
like
in me too.
it might be sprinkled in there too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe you don't just have one. Maybe
I agree with that.
You know?
'Cause if I look at all of them.
Yeah. Okay. Read what number. What's the third one?
The third one, the natural genius expects skills to come effortlessly, and I didn't read that effortlessly, and feels like an imposter when needing effort. So like that's in me too.
Oh,
like literally is. Yeah, for sure.
Like, so if you feel like you're asking for help,
Yeah.
you feel like a fraud?
Yeah.
No, everybody needs to ask for help.
I know it. Oh, for sure. I know it.
Yeah, I know you know it.
But I think that there's
Wow.
definitely, especially when you look at maybe people above you.
Yeah.
For me. So like if I have like somebody, a leader above me and
an authority or something.
and it's
yeah.
not any fault of the leaders.
No. And not because they're not approachable or they're awful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for my own, like, they need to view me like I'm competent and capable without,
When you say it like that,
for real.
I get it.
Right?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Number 4 is called the soloist.
Yes.
So believes in doing everything alone and feels inadequate asking for help.
That's not me. I don't
feel like that's me.
No.
If I need help, I'll be like,
Yeah.
help me out.
Yeah.
But maybe I'd learn that. Okay. And number 5.
That one's Shannon.
That one's Shannon.
The soloist.
Shannon, you're the soloist.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay. That explains a
Aw.
lot.
You don't need to do everything alone.
No, we're here for you, Shannon.
I just want to hug everybody who has these.
You did have a problem with that growing up.
I got in trouble at school because they said I hugged too much.
Yeah. I totally know that. I think we've said this on the podcast.
Okay,
before.
Shannon, the soloist. Interesting.
Okay. And then 5, the superhero strives for excellence in all aspects, fearing exposure if showing vulnerability or struggling to balance everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are going to be that one.
Yeah, I know some I can think of right
Same
now, but I'm not
as-
going to out them.
Yeah,
I'm not going to out them. But
We're
I
not because
I
we
know.
love you and this is a place. Okay, so that I hope.
But these things don't make you a
that's-
bad person in
No,
any way.
no.
Right?
No. Definitely not. But I think breaking it down to 5
I think it's really
things
helpful.
is actually very helpful, and you can kind of
Yeah.
pinpoint.
So
Yeah.
like,
So where does this stem from? Like, why do we?
oh man.
Why are we breaking into these 5 different categories, or like, what do you think?
Oh, I kind of think like we don't fully understand our uniqueness in God. Like we tend to look at others and say,
Like compare.
yeah, like,
Yep.
oh, I see how awesome they are at that. And
Yeah.
everybody thinks that they're amazing at
Yeah.
it. If I do anything differently, then I'm not as good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that
Not
can't be true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So comparison, you think, is a huge,
I think comparison is a
so.
massive one.
I agree. We actually have a scripture from 2 Corinthians 10 verses 12 that talks about comparison. And so I'll read it. It says, "We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise." So when we're comparing, we're
It's
not
foolish.
We're not using wisdom.
It's foolish, but
Right?
it also denies who God has made us to be.
Yep.
Right?
And what
So,
he's
like,
asked you to do.
yeah, so like I can look at leadership and I can look at some leaders and go, wow, like they just have their T's crossed and their I's dotted. What amazing leaders.
Yeah.
But then I neglect the fact that, you know what? In the face of crisis, I'm actually quite good at adjusting.
Right.
Right. So like my personality has a tendency towards when things go off the rails slightly,
Yeah.
I don't just fold and like
Yeah.
cower.
Yeah.
So like that's something I can bring to the table in leadership,
100%.
and maybe my T's
Somebody
and
else
I's
can't.
aren't as perfect as this other person, but just like equip others
Lean into what your giftings
and lean
are.
into those people who are gifted that way.
Yes.
And make them a part of the things that
Yes.
you're doing. Like
Yeah.
you said, people need help.
Yeah, people
Right?
need help, and we have to lean on each other.
Yeah,
and
we need to help
that's-
one another.
We need to help. Literally, we need to help one another.
Yeah, I don't know
So-
you've actually said that in this podcast. You might have said that before.
I definitely have. I don't
You
think
have
I
said
said
it
it this
before.
time.
You're so
Yeah.
wise.
No, it wasn't from the Lord because it's not mine.
And then we did talk a little bit. Did you go into Galatians 1:10 yet?
I did not.
Okay, read that one.
Okay, if you're a people pleaser like myself,
Me
you
too.
are as well.
Me too.
What's happening to us?
Shannon, are you?
Are you?
Oh, huge.
Wow. So I think there's a lot more people pleasers out there.
That's what her face was like, right? Like,
She's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely same. Well, I say recovering because I'm trying to to work on it. But if you're a people pleaser like us in this room, Galatians 1 verse 10, listen to this. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ.
wow. Ooh, so
That makes me feel bad.
here's what resonates with me in that, though.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if we talked about this last week, but we talked about the gift of service, but I called it the gift of helps, right?
Yeah, it helps.
But we can get so wrapped up in like the death to self and the carrying the cross in the sense of get rid of yourself and only think of other people. This scripture says something different.
Yeah, it rectifies. It takes all of that and throws it out the window. Are you people pleasing?
Yeah.
Because if you are, you're not pleasing God.
You're not a servant
You're
of Christ.
not serving me.
Right?
That's bonkers.
That is bonkers. Wow.
Wow. Okay. So imposter syndrome, comparison,
Yeah.
people pleasing, 100%.
Yes.
What else would we say?
Lack of trust in God.
Yeah. I would say that.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Lack
and then
of-
I'll tell you why I say that.
I would say lack of trust in God because for me personally, it means I'm not trusting who God has called me to be, right? And I'm trying to take things into my own hands. And of course, like it's easy for us to, like you said, look at somebody, look at social media, look at somebody that you look up to and are inspired by and think like, oh, I should maybe be more like them.
Yeah, totally.
Like, why didn't God craft me that way?
Yeah.
Why don't I have that platform? Why don't
Yeah.
I have this? Why not? Why not? All the why nots equals I'm not trusting God and his call in my life and who he created me to be.
Absolutely.
And who I'm meant to impact. So that's why I would say that.
And I think we also then get, and this is really along the lines of what you're saying, I think we get hung up on God's bunny ears call on our life, right? And so like we wait for this perfect voice from the Lord to drop down to us, maybe
Rob.
yes, right?
Yeah.
Or like on tablets of gold that are like, this is your calling, go forth and do this.
Wouldn't that be so nice?
But like, and I've heard it said like, maybe God will just direct the steps of people in motion, right? And
That's
so
really
like
good.
we can actually do things that we're passionate about.
Yes.
And Pastor Peter spoke on this in the summer.
Yeah.
Right. And he talked about like, can you be a writer? Yeah, you can be a writer and love Jesus and serve Jesus.
Yeah,
You know? Can you be an
absolutely.
actor and love and serve? Yeah, you can do that. Can you be an accountant? Can you work for the God? All these things. Yeah, you
Yep.
don't have to be like a pastor, as
No.
it were,
Yeah.
and wait for this special anointing calling kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we can trust that no matter what we choose to do, God is going to even come in and direct our steps. He's not going to leave us, even if we make a mistake on that decision.
Yeah.
He's still going to come in, and if we let him direct our steps,
Yeah.
right? Which I believe that is trusting in God. We get so hung up on that initial decision.
Yeah.
And it being perfect.
Yeah.
And we do that with like relationships,
Everything.
jobs,
Yep.
right?
It's
and,
perfect or nothing.
And it cripples people,
Yeah.
right? So I think that if we can just trust that whatever situation we're going to get into, he's going to empower us by his Holy Spirit
Yeah.
to glorify him,
Yeah.
then the imposter syndrome stuff can just like sort of melt off maybe
Yeah.
as we trust,
For sure.
right?
I agree
He's
with
going to
that.
take care of it,
Yeah. 100%.
which is such a beautiful, free place to be.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to be not
Yep.
great at crossing T's and dotting I's.
Yeah.
But what I do bring to the table is who he's made me to be.
Yeah, and that's how we find victory in the midst of imposter syndrome is really like relying and trusting on him. I would also say insecurity plays a huge
I'm not insecure. You're insecure.
huge key into imposter syndrome. And I could just speak for myself, but like 100%. That's
It
when
has a lot to do with
it flares up when I'm feeling like insecure.
what we think people are thinking about us.
Yeah.
Like-
well,
Caring about how I exist in another human's mind. What a weird thought.
Concept.
It is just such a weird
and
thing.
it can overtake some people's lives.
Yeah.
Like it really does. Like, oh, what are they thinking about me? What are they saying about me?
Yeah.
Oh, this person looked at me kind of strange. Like, are they mad at me? What did I do? Da, da, da. Like that all is.
But if you think about that can literally cripple your faith.
Well, yeah.
Because what Jesus might ask you to do might not be what the world wants you to do. And so if you're super insecure about who you are, like you could just be tossed around.
Yeah.
By waves of doctrine, thought, teaching, all of it.
What people want you to do, what your family wants you to do, what your friends think you to do. Like, so I think insecurity for sure makes the imposter syndrome flare up majorly because.
So let's try and guess. How many people do you think are dealing with imposter syndrome?
Oh.
Like so many. I won't put a number on it, but
no,
like
I think everybody.
I agree.
I think
there must maybe there's like
at some point, some might be way more severe than others.
Yeah.
But at some point in your life, I think that you have encountered
so it's something we
syndrome.
all have to face, and we're talking about living in victory.
Yep.
Like, I do believe that this imposter syndrome thing can come in and steal your victory.
Yeah.
Because you could be given a new position and then you step in and you can't work in fullness because you don't believe for some reason that
when I first started working
here, you had imposter syndrome.
I had imposter syndrome hard because I never worked in a church this size.
Right.
I always worked in a small church, and it was a very different context. Like I was very like an inner city church, and it was small, and it was just very the complete opposite of what Bethel is. And not that one is better or not, like they're both beautiful. But I remember like coming in and being, and there's so many people on staff. It was just like me and 2 other staff members. And I was like part-time. So it wasn't anyway. So I remember having insane imposter syndrome when I first started working here.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I remember.
I never told anybody that.
That's thank you for sharing that. I remember how you were spoken of when you came.
Really?
And it was just all like, this is like the
Aww,
person. She's like so good, so gifted. She's going to bring like highest quality. Aww. And we were just like, we'll see. No,
we hate that girl.
No, you came in and fit in like right away, immediately.
Yeah, I did
like,
feel that.
Easy.
I did feel that way.
Super easy.
But yeah. So it's definitely
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to think of the last time I felt imposter syndrome.
Yeah. When's the last time you felt?
I don't know.
Anything with writing? Because you're a writer.
Oh gosh, yes.
There you go.
Oh wow, yeah, kids books, and that's a scary place to exist because
kids books.
Well, just writing.
Yeah, writing.
Because writers be some judgmental people sometimes.
Yep.
Right. No offense.
And people are judging like their writing too.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So like, I write kids books, and I actually write in the style of Dr. Seuss. So like, I mean, I guess right off the bat, I'd be compared somewhat
to Dr. Seuss. Yeah.
To this amazing writer.
Yep.
And
the success that he's had.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And I'm self-published, not published. So total imposter syndrome.
Yep. 100%.
Okay. So this does get in the way of finding victory if we can't like move past imposter syndrome, right? Like if you were to stay feeling an imposter your whole life, you're not going to ever feel like you belong. Mm-hmm. It's how it is. Mm-hmm. So what are some things that we can do, implement, believe, whatever the case, to overcome and remain in victory?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that we can do is own it. Like, don't pretend you're not having imposter syndrome.
Right.
Because that's not going to help you. So we say this a lot on the podcast. We have to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Like, and be open about how you're feeling. Like, tell somebody that you trust. Tell a friend. You don't got to tell the entire world, right? And ask questions. Like, if you feel, for example, if you're like doing something new in business, let's say, and you're all of a sudden sitting at this table with all these people and they're talking, and you're like, I don't know what that actually means. Like, and you're freaking out. You're spiraling because you're like, I don't belong at this table. I don't even know what they're talking about. And Stop, take a breath. It's normal. It's okay. But be honest, be vulnerable. Ask questions. Be like, I'm so sorry. I don't understand what that means. What does that mean? When I first started working here, I had so many questions because I was like, what, how does this work? How does this work? How does this work? Bless Pastor Mitch. I was like, every day, what does this mean? What does this mean? And that helped me combat my imposter syndrome. Yeah. And then he was like, so nice. Like, he doesn't care that I'm asking him questions, but you know,
agreed.
So I would say, be vulnerable, accept it, own it. Yeah. You have it. That's totally fine.
And understand that you're going to go from here to here.
Yes. 100% ask questions.
Yeah. I think that, can I take that now and internalize that too?
Sure.
I think be vulnerable and ask questions of yourself. why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
What am I actually feeling? Like
Yeah.
if you're feeling out of sorts amongst other people,
To pinpoint it.
stop and go, okay, what's happening?
Yeah. Is this me? Is this them? Is it my own
Do
stuff?
I need to learn more?
Yeah.
Right?
Do I need to ask questions? Because you're not going to come in and be perfect in a role.
No.
Like you should always be learning, always be growing. Like it goes into
So it's like an emotional intelligence thing to be able to ask ourselves deeper questions. And often we think of that as narcissism.
Right.
Or selfishness.
Right.
Right. And it's just not.
Yeah.
Like we want to show up as our best for other
Yes.
people.
100%.
So the vulnerability to say, I don't know, or this isn't working for me, and why? That's really important and helpful, I think.
And healthy.
So you can make the changes needed.
very healthy
Yes.
to be asking ourselves these questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what
then
else do you think?
Let go of perfectionism, right?
Yeah.
So who's been perfect in the world?
Just Jesus.
Just Jesus.
Just Jesus.
So stop looking at the amazing things that everybody has done in their ministry or job,
Career,
whatever,
life.
because you're not seeing their mistakes.
No. Especially, friends, if you're just like on social media. You're most of the time, it's a highlight reel. Some people are really real and honest and vulnerable, and I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that, those people. But most of the time, it's a highlight. Like, and you would have no idea what people are going on beneath the surface. So, yeah.
So you have if there's any kids book writers out there, they might look at my book and go, oh, this is easy for him. But you don't see the hot mess that it is leading up to it, and you don't see the self-doubt.
Yeah.
You don't
and
see
the drafts that you're writing
exactly,
and the things you have to
and
fix.
the horrible writing that's in there before you get to some of the better stuff.
Yeah.
That's everything that we do, right? So we're only looking at people's success and seeing, oh, this is easy for them.
Yeah.
No, they weren't perfect and aren't.
Yeah. We can't be.
So just
perfect.
ditch it. And the great thing about that is that we can learn from the mistakes.
Yeah.
But there's also beauty in the scribbles and the messes.
100%.
So I actually have this weird perfectionist thing in me that like I've gotten over it now.
Okay.
But like I would journal, and the minute I misspelled something or it should be like, I'm out. This whole journal has to go in the garbage.
Oh my God. You wouldn't even rip the page out?
No,
gosh.
that's not perfect, right? But then God is helping me to be like, but you need to leave these things in here so that you can remember, so that you can see your mess ups and understand that they're always going to be.
Yep.
So we pretend like they're not always going to be.
Yep.
Then we just live in a fake place.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist. And again, it's not healthy for you. Like, and you're not going to have victory over it.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
Okay, that's really good.
Yeah.
I would also say something that has really helped me in my imposter syndrome and to have victory in it and to fight it is self-compassion. Like we are so hard on ourselves all the time. Like the track that's playing in our head. We talked about intrusive thoughts. We've talked about anxiety. We've talked about all these things. We are so hard on ourselves. And something that my friend like always reminds me of is when I'm like so hard on myself, she would say, would you ever say that to me?
Yeah, right.
Like what you are saying to yourself right now in your head, not even out loud. Because I'm sure like what's in your head is worse than you're saying out loud.
Totally.
So like, would you ever look me in the eye and say that to me? And I'm like, no. And she goes, why are you saying it to yourself?
Exactly.
She always like reminds me of that. So bless her. But
so we have to understand that, okay, somewhere along the way, I feel like we've decided that caring for ourselves, like loving ourselves is wrong, right? But I actually think that it's just implied. Like, I think that God says, he says, love your neighbor as yourself.
yeah.
He doesn't say love your neighbor and hate yourself.
How are you supposed to know how to love your neighbor if you don't love yourself?
Right. And so there is some aspect for me where I go, if you want to love yourself deeper, get out and love people. Like, I don't think it's like a wait until you're like perfectly set up. And
perfect with yourself.
Right.
You're never going to get there. Yeah.
No, but I do think that we shouldn't ever act like we're not allowed to respect and care for ourselves.
Yeah.
And self-compassion is like vital to that. Because there's a lot of people out there who aren't going to show you compassion.
Yeah.
There just is. We have a world who's waiting for you to mess up. And you can't show yourself compassion.
Yeah.
And get yourself around people who understand they listen, right? And they care.
Yeah, and they're
going to be
up.
honest with you too.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you if you're not really going to make, the Billboard
best.
Top 100.
If I can be a pop
But
singer
they'll say
or
it
not.
they'll say it with kid gloves and then they'll build you up in the areas that you need being built up in.
Yeah.
Right? So your self-compassion is also who you hang out with.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
All right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then anything to add to the ways that we could.
Yeah, I think we've talked about trusting in God. Like we need to trust in God and not in ourselves, not in our own abilities.
Yeah.
Right? It's great that we have giftings. It's great that we're talented. It's great that we could bring things to the table that other people can't bring. And that's all needed. And there's absolutely a place for that all the time. But we're not relying on ourselves and we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to lean on our own understanding. We're supposed to trust God. And so I think a huge way to fight imposter syndrome is to remember, I'm not God. I'm not in charge of everything.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers for everything. Who does? God.
Yeah.
So we need to trust in God and not in ourselves.
Totally. I think last week we said, how can we be fully, not unique? What's the word?
Authentic.
Thank you. How can we be fully authentic if we're not authentic in God, right? Like he is our creator. He is the one who makes us.
Yeah.
And so trusting in him to lead the way, to place our steps.
Yeah. And to help us when we're feeling imposter syndrome
is vital for our authenticity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. 100%.
Scripture that I think really helps us to apply these to our lives comes from 2 Corinthians 12, 9, 10. I have to put on my old man glasses.
They're not old, man. They're cool.
No, but it's because I'm old and my eyesight's going. So when I
you're
just
not
put
that
those
old.
on and they glare and they're like, don't wear those because they glare. So 2 Corinthians 12, 9, 10. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Oh, are you expected to be strong?
Nope.
Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong.
I love that verse.
I do too.
That's such a good reminder.
Just takes such a weight off.
Yeah, it does. It takes the pressure off. Like, oh, I'm not supposed to be strong all the time. Oh, I'm not supposed to have all the answers. Oh, I'm not supposed to be the best. Oh, I'm not supposed to be perfect.
I just have to show up engaged with God.
Yeah. And lean on him and trust him.
Watch how he changes.
Give him my
everything.
weakness.
Oh.
And we said this last week when we were talking about the cross. It's like we're exchanging all of our weakness for his strength. And that's exactly what this verse says.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I love it. Trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. Let go of perfectionism.
Yeah.
And be easy on yourself.
Be easy on yourself. Show yourself some compassion and grace.
Especially you, Sarah.
Okay.
All right.
I will. I'll receive it.
So that's it for today. I just want to say thank you all to those friends of ours who are listening and engaging. And I just really hope and pray for you guys for a real victory in this season, one that lasts. Believe in God, obviously, but also believe in who he made you to be.
Yeah.
Because he didn't mess up. He didn't mess up with you, and he wants what's best for you. So there's a real blessing, I believe, for his children throughout this life.
Yeah.
Just accept it. Let heaven open up over you and accept that blessing.
Yeah, and ask him for it.
Yeah.
If you haven't, ask him for it. And if you're really struggling with imposter syndrome, God can help you through it.
Yep.
Be vulnerable
Yep.
and give it to him and ask him to help you through it.
Yeah.
He will. He'll be there for you.
100.
100%.
So,
thanks so much for listening. And if you, actually, I think what will be really fun.
Thumbs up us.
Is if you resonated with one of those 5
tell us
types of imposter, tell us what they are in the chat. I'll write mine in the chat.
So cool.
Get the ball rolling. But
I think that we might have some of this stuff on IG too, right?
Yeah. So remember to check us out on Instagram.
Yeah. So follow us there.
Yep.
Subscribe, all those things, but just also, a part of the conversation.
Yeah, we want you part of the conversation for sure. Thank you so much for listening. This has been episode number 2, and we love you.
In season number 2.
Okay, sorry.
We do love you. Thank you for listening to There Must Be More podcast, a production of Bethel, Ottawa. You can catch us on YouTube, where we would love it if you liked and subscribed. You can also catch us on Apple Podcast and Spotify.